The Muscatine City Council will come to order. We'll begin this evening as usual with a roll call. Fran?
Councilmember Barrett,
Present.
Fitzgerald,
Present.
Natpig,
Present.
Nye, Bynum,
Present.
Phillips,
Present.
Fred,
Present.
6 present and 1 absent, Your Honor.
Very good. Thank you, Fran. Folks, would you rise and join me in our Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you and welcome, everyone. If there is anyone in council chambers that has an issue they'd like to discuss with council that is not included in tonight's agenda, now would be the time to come forward. Very good. Item 5, consent agenda. The following items are considered to be routine by the city council and will be enacted by one motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless a council member so requests, in which event the item will be removed from the consent agenda and considered in its normal sequence on the agenda. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda, which includes items 6A, items 8A, and by the way, item B under 8 has been taken off of the agenda. It will not reflect that on the agenda that you have, though. Items 9A through B, filing of communications 12A through G, and tonight's bills totaling $1,317,346.
Ooh. That number should be $5,758,644.01.
Say that again, Fran.
$5,758,644.01.
Okay, that's a considerable bit more.
I'm sorry about that.
That's okay. Again, and tonight's bills totaling $5,758,644 and a penny, as well as journal entries and receipt summaries for June 2013. Is there a motion?
So moved, Your Honor.
Tom, and a second?
Second, Your Honor.
Second, Bob. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries 6-0. Moving down to item 11 from the city administrator. Presented for city council's consideration is a resolution approving the plans, specifications, form of contract, cost estimate, and setting bid opening date for the Weed Park Maintenance Building Project. The maintenance shop located at Weed Park has been operating out of its current location since 1973, and the facility is in need of replacement. City Council approved this project during the fiscal year 2013-2014 budget discussions. Is there a motion to adopt the resolution as submitted?
So moved.
Ooh, I think I heard Jeanette over there in a second. Bob, you want to take the second?
Yes.
Okay, any discussion, council? This is a roll call vote, beginning with Jeanette.
Aye.
Bob?
Aye.
Scott?
Aye.
Phil?
Aye.
Mark?
Aye.
And Tom?
Aye.
Motion carries 6-0. Item B, presented for city council's consideration is a resolution awarding the contract for the Colorado Street reconstruction project. 5 bids were received, with the low bid submitted by Higher Construction in the amount of $2,849,949.71. The engineer's estimate was $2,950,000. This portion of the project includes work on the water main that will be funded by Muscatine Power and Water. Is there a motion to adopt the resolution as submitted?
So moved.
I heard Phil over there and Tom for the second. Any
Second.
discussion?
Yeah, I just had a question for maybe John or someone about the variance in the bids.
You never really know how these are going to come out, Scott. What I've been told secondhand is that, and often it happens, especially when there's pipe or material, one of the contractors or sub has some available from another project, and that helps keep the cost of their part of it down. And I am told that was the case in this particular project and why the bid was what it is. The fact of the matter is that the engineer's estimate was pretty much on the money.
Yeah, that's
I had
true.
told them to take the contingency out, which they normally do leave in there. If they let the contingency in, then their bid would have been very much on the money for the other 3 or 4 that were higher. But as it is, I think the bid that we received from Hire was an excellent bid and pretty much where we thought it would be.
And they've done a lot of business for us, I mean, so there's no,
Very much so.
thank you.
Okay.
Any other questions for Randy, council? Okay, the motion from Phil and the second Tom. This also is a roll call vote, beginning with Phil.
Aye.
Mark?
Aye.
Tom?
Aye.
Jeanette?
Aye.
Bob?
Aye.
And Scott?
Aye.
Motion carries 6-0. Item C, presented for city council's consideration is a resolution awarding and approving the contract for the air release valves repair project. 3 bids were received for this project, which will include the removal and replacement of deteriorated manhole structures and air release valve components at 8 locations on the south end sanitary sewer force mains. The low bid was from Cornerstone Excavating in the amount of $93,700. The engineer's estimate for this project was $104,000. Is there a motion to adopt the resolution as submitted?
So move.
Bob?
Second.
Second, Mark. Any discussion, council?
Question for you, Mayor. These release valves, if we approve it, how soon are they going to start replacing them?
John, you want to respond to that?
John Lutz, city engineer. Some of these air release valves are in fields that have crops in them, so we can't necessarily get in until, the crops are harvested. I'm thinking later in the month here. We will be able to form a contract just immediately after this council meeting. We don't have to wait that additional month to approve a contract and bond for this one. So we do want to get it going, but it does have a deadline of December 31st. The contractor doesn't have to start right away. We'd like them to, but there are crops in many of the fields and locations.
These release valves are located in the south end, correct?
Yeah, between the wastewater treatment plant and the pump station down by Dick Drake Way and Stewart Road.
It so happened that I was down at the wastewater treatment center last week. As soon as I opened the door, it just overwhelms you with the smell.
Yeah,
And I'd really recommend as soon as possible.
it's not necessarily the smell, but the problem is that there's air in the lines that come out where in the front end of the where the force mains come in, and when air comes up in the force main, it blasts against the building and sprays sewage around, and we don't want that going on.
Amen, that's true.
John, you want to mention this is a multi-year project?
Yeah, this is the first phase of at least 3 phases I think we have going on. There are about 34 of these valves. We're doing 8 of them right away. Not all of them need to be reworked, but we're starting out with the 8 primary valves that we think will make the most difference to this project.
Thank you.
Any other questions for John while he's here, council? Very good, thanks, John. We have a motion by Councilman Bynum, second by Councilman Lorette. And no further discussion. This is a roll call vote as well, beginning with Bob Bynum.
Aye.
Scott?
Aye.
Bill?
Aye.
Mark?
Aye.
Tom?
Aye.
And Jeanette?
Aye.
Motion carries 6-0. Item D, presented for city council's consideration is a resolution accepting the low quote for the security gate and camera project at the municipal airport. Requests for quotes for this project were sent to 5 targeted small businesses and 5 area prime contractors. Quotes were received from 3 area contractors who have combined their quotes into a single project quotation, which will result in an increase of $6,237.50 that will be offset by a reduction in the overall cost of the T-hanger and apron drainage cost to the city of $6,596.32, or a net overall reduction of $359. It is staff's recommendation that City Council accept the low quote from FSS Incorporated of Illinois City in the amount of $54,395. Is there a motion to adopt the resolution as submitted?
So moved, Your Honor.
Scott?
Second, Your Honor.
Second. Phil, discussion, council. This is a roll call vote, again, beginning with Scott,
Aye.
Phil,
Aye.
Mark,
Aye.
Tom,
Aye.
Jeanette,
Aye.
and Bob.
Aye.
Motion carries 6-0. Item E, presented for city council's consideration, is a request to approve additional materials for the T-hanger drainage project. At the September 19th, 2013 city council meeting, the contract for this project was awarded to Muscatine Bridge Incorporated in the amount of $117,708.04. It has been determined that some additional asphalt should be removed and replaced. The cost for the additional quantities needed is $3,171, with the city responsible for 15% of that amount, or $475.65. There is sufficient funding commitment to allow this work to be completed. The overall cost of the project will be raised to $120,879.52. Is there a motion to approve the request as submitted?
So moved.
I heard Mark, and a second,
Second.
Jeanette. Okay, any discussion, council? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries 6-0. Item F, presented for city council's consideration, is a request to authorize moving forward with the sidewalk program and the hiring of a project manager. The city does not have an active sidewalk inspection program and has functioned on a complaint-driven basis. However, the focus on the healthier lifestyle for our citizenry, existing sidewalks, development of new sidewalks, and compliance with the Americans with Disabilities Act mandated handicap ramps at sidewalk intersections has made this issue very important. Is there a motion to approve the request as submitted?
So moved, Your Honor.
Tom, and a second?
Second, Your Honor.
Second, Bob. Discussion, council.
Mayor, I'd like to see this move to budget session. We actually discussed this during this year's budget session. It was not approved for this budget. I don't see that there's any emergency need to add staff or salary outside of the budget discussion. I think the appropriate thing to do would be to wait a few months and discuss this in February.
Anybody else, council?
Mayor, I would agree with Mark. I'm all for the concept, and, you know, hopefully we'll find a way to fund it, but the funding that's shown on so far is less solid than I'd like to see, and I think as we see how it fits in with the overall budget, we can make a better decision.
Greg?
Couple comments, Your Honor. It was taken out of the current budget, but to be brought back to City Council during the year. You may also recall that it is in the City Council goals to be accomplished to begin in 2013 as well. We've identified several benefits to having a project manager and move this forward. We've also identified savings in order to bring the project management forward. It does not affect the general fund. The remainder of the funds can be offset with road use tax funds to get this project up and running sooner rather than later. We hold off until budget. You're looking at a higher, to start sometime after July of 14.
So there's a timeline issue as well.
July of 14, so you really wouldn't be implementing anything, but most likely until sometime in 15. So we can delay it, we can certainly do that, but I think we've got an opportunity now to bring it forward and get it done. It's been identified as a priority by council in their goals. It's been identified as a priority during the comprehensive planning process by the public and by the Planning Zoning Commission, and City Council adopted the plan. And So we can certainly do it, we can discuss it further at budget, but we're recommending that we bring it forward sooner rather than later.
Anybody else, council?
I would also like to see us wait till budget for it.
Bill's got a comment, Mayor.
Phil?
I was just, in looking at it, as project manager, I was just wondering what kind of qualifications we were thinking of for this. I'm not opposed to moving forward with it, but I just wanted to kind of get an idea what the requirements were going to be. I'm not looking for employment. I want to know what the job, what the requirements are going to, is this going to be the engineer type that we were discussing back at budget time? Was this going to be somebody that's been acting as a project manager for the city on some of these Cedar Street projects and, or
Randy's-
not Cedar Street, but some of these other projects, or what?
Looking at for the, we have a draft job description that we're looking at, no, but we're looking at somebody with more of a project management background, an actual project management degree. Let me see here.
Not a newbie?
Not a PE.
Not a PE, but intern, was it an intern engineer?
Business administration bachelor's degree, business administration, related experience, administrative work, master's degree, preferred, possession of current, well, that's easy. Administrative management, grant writing, this isn't what you're looking for. Let's see here. But no, we're looking for somebody, rather than with an engineering background, they could have an engineering, like, you know, a BA in engineering, similar to the planner that was hired recently, but no, we're looking for somebody with more of a project management background. You can actually get a degree in project management as well. Let's see here.
So how much experience in project management are you looking for? If I
Well,
may
you know,
ask.
we're looking for, you know, we typically state, you know, something related to the field or 5 years' experience, includes supervision, project management, administrative work experience, or equivalent combination of education. We do the typical, you know, those typical types to see what we can get. But we're not looking for an engineer necessarily. You know, they could have a civil engineering background or a degree as a BA, but
Okay.
the comparison was made across the state with more of a project manager type position.
Okay.
Anything else, Phil? Jeanette, you had a comment?
No, I just said that I would like to wait until budget and discuss it then.
Okay. And Bob?
Mayor, this project manager is one of our goals for city council. We all know that there's lots of things happening with personnel. Getting someone on the ground, someone getting to write the program, tell us what's right and what's wrong with the sidewalks. It's certainly, now is the time to get started. It's going to be from square one. It's not going to be 10 feet up. You have to start somewhere, and it's going to take time for them to learn the ins and outs of our actual city, plus a brand spanking new program for our sidewalks, and investigation's going to take some time to be able to get that person on board, write the program and get it approved and make it into an ordinance. I'm fully aware of that now's the time to do it. Thank you, Your Honor.
Tom?
Yeah, I look at the recommendation as though there were two components. One is the need for a sidewalk management plan, and I fully support that. I brought it up right after I got on the council. There are issues, particularly downtown, where people are tripping. We have liability issues. We need to deal with that in some way. The other component is who's going to do the work, principally the project manager. As I see it, the project manager is not a full-time sidewalk superintendent. You know, there are many other things that person will be doing. you pay for them with the savings from other projects that you're managing. Today, we outsource engineering and consulting to get just about anything done on Colorado Street, on Cedar Street. Paying for this one's an easy one. That's just the high-level view of it. I understand the budget concerns, but this one does not impact the general fund. This is all coming out of road use tax or savings from projects that we're doing. I would anticipate that if we were to give them the go-ahead, you're not going to see somebody in place much before spring of next year anyway. I mean, it's going to take that long to find the right person and get them started, so. Now, I guess my question is, are we, in this proposal, are we actually making a financial decision to hire somebody? Or is this a recommendation to proceed, and that we still have the opportunity to review the salary and compensation and structure?
Our recommendation is to move forward. We've done the comparisons with comparable positions throughout the community. 50,000 is the typical base salary. We'll include it as a range. It comes with the typical benefits. We're recommending, one, that we move forward and work on adopting a policy, or work on preparing and adopting a policy, putting together a sidewalk program, and in order to do that, we're recommending that City Council authorize us to hire an individual to get working on those items, plus the pieces, or additional pieces that I've got outlined, that Randy and I have outlined in the outline, excuse me. And again, you're absolutely correct. This is not funded through the general fund. This is funded through savings in other projects. This is funded through potential grant opportunities. This is funded through road use tax. We do a ton of right-of-way easements each year. This year we did in excess of 15,000. That's a high year. Typically we budget about $7,000 in easement preparation or acquisition that we do in-house. I mean, so there's ways to fund this, offset these costs, and get it moving sooner rather than later. I guess it depends on whether or not it's a council priority to get it started now, or wait till after July of 14.
Council, we have a lively discussion going here. I'd like to hear it continue if anyone else has any comment.
Well, I just have, Mayor, I have one more comment to, back to Craig. I still view this as, if it was a one-time expenditure, then it would, it'd be easy to just say, go ahead, but this position would continue from year to year, salary and benefits, and we know how they escalate. And again, looking at the suggested funding here, some of the items are pretty solid and we could count on from year to year, but some of the other ones, in my mind, maybe not. So that's where
We have the same issue when we hire 2 police officers with a
I
COPS
understand
grant. You're not gonna, 4 years is it, so.
we've already got that out there.
But again, and we talked about it at the in-depth session, we'd want to come back, we want to evaluate this program, make sure it's working, and, after, obviously, a policy is adopted and a program is in place, to make sure that this is working. And, a lot of times we do that during the budget cycle. It's an opportunity to review that. It most likely deserves an independent session and an in-depth to review, after we've got this in place and been working on this for a year. You've got an opportunity to see if it's really working and doing exactly what we as a group wanted to get done, and we can do that now and get going on it, or we can wait and start after July. I mean, it's really up to you.
I have one other comment to make in this general issue. When we engage somebody, hire somebody to do this kind of work, it's an incumbent on the council and the city administration to manage that process. What that means is, as long as there's work to do, they're busy and we pay them. When we get to the point, perhaps, where there's nothing to be done, the position's eliminated, and we have to have the fortitude to do that as well.
Anyone else, council? Normally, this would be a voice vote, but if you don't mind, I'd like to change that to a roll call vote, so we have an accurate score here. You all right with that, Fran?
Yes, I am.
Okay, the motion was made by Tom, so we'll begin with Tom.
Aye.
Jeanette?
No.
Bob?
Aye.
Scott?
Nay.
Phil?
Aye.
And Mark?
Nay.
What do you have, Fran?
3-3.
3 and 3. So where do we go from here? This is-
Motion fails.
Motion fails.
Yes, it does.
Okay. All right, we'll move along. Item 14, communication from council members. As always, we'll begin with Councilman Lorette.
Thank you, Mayor. I don't have anything this evening.
Phil?
Nothing at this time, Your Honor?
Scott?
Thank you, Mayor. I have nothing.
Bob?
Nothing tonight, Your Honor.
Jeanette?
A quick question about that vote that we just took. Can that be brought up at the next council meeting? Would it have to be brought up by the ayes or the nays?
A member of the majority can ask that it be brought up at a subsequent meeting.
But there wasn't a majority.
There was no majority.
Well, yes.
So anybody could technically bring it up.
Okay, because I'm thinking Osama will be here probably, but you'll be gone.
So it could,
So I
if you were
guess
going
don't
to,
win.
Well, it doesn't have to happen at the next meeting. It can happen at any future meeting.
if you were considering changing your vote, Jeanette, we could
No, 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 no.
probably.
No, I'm just thinking Osama.
We could revote.
Osama's not here.
We could go ahead and do it now if you want.
Oh, thank you.
It's not how to ask.
Are there, let me ask this, Greg, are there more details, Greg or Randy or both, that could possibly come out in an in-depth session regarding this issue?
Well, I may answer your question with a question. I mean, what specifically are you looking for that you don't have now that you'd like to have at budget time or sooner to make a better or more informed decision?
Well, I posed the question, so I think I'm entitled to some kind of a response. If the timetable is such that this thing won't be enacted upon until the next budget session, which begins in February, I believe, that means we probably won't be able to plug a person into the position until July of 2014.
Actually, it'd be more likely September, October.
Why?
Point being is if we want to move Muscatine forward and not be reactionary, such as we've been with the sidewalk issue, and be proactionary, this isn't the way to do it.
I guess we could start the hiring process after March 15th if the council were to include it in the
Official
budget
budget.
in the official budget and for a start date after July 1st.
Correct.
Well, my opinion is only that we know we have a problem, and we're just going to put it on the back burner. Randy, you would like to comment?
Just, Mayor, that our traffic committee, mentioned before, you talked about additional details. I don't know of any additional details other than the fact that we constantly receive comments about sidewalks. Our traffic committee just met last week. A young mother, the principal from Mulberry School, gave a presentation on crossing at Tipton Road in Mulberry and how dangerous that is, and how a sidewalk, if it went down towards Province and came across that way, and you'd have to build a sidewalk, would be much safer for children to go in there. I talked before about Smalley and somebody falling over their water stop boxes. You dealt with the gentleman over on Dillaway that we've been working with, and Logan. I mean, it's ongoing. And I know this is now the third year that we brought this back. We talked about Dawson, and was that an opportunity? We came up about Colorado Street, and that project, and should there be sidewalks there? And it seems like we just keep kicking the can down the road. So, I mean, if we don't want to do it, then let's just not do it. And we'll just say, we'll go on the way we've done it before, and that's on a complaint basis program. And that way, we as staff know just where the council's going to go with it. Further, I mean, we have sidewalk construction going on right now. We can suspend that and save the money until we get a more specific answer from the council as to whether or not they want to continue with this or not. So, I'm left with just, where do you want us to go with this whole thing? And where I hear you saying is that you don't want to do anything with it. So I'm assuming that means we'll go on a complaint-driven basis from here on.
I mean, you said you'd suspend the sidewalks being constructed currently. Where, are those in relationship to large projects, or where we're working on streets?
No, it's not necessarily. Some of them have to do with, there's one just up the street here that's going on as it accesses an alley on both sides of the Blackwell Mansion. And sidewalks are being put in there to make alley accessibility better. We have some places where we've done some curb work, where we've had to change the sidewalk as part of that. We have a specific sidewalk that was put in, an ADA ramp that is not compliant, put in by a utility company, that is going to have to be torn out and redone. And even if we build them back, the fact of the matter is, it has to be done. It has to be corrected and done right. And so, I mean, it's things like that, Phil, that we do have to take care of. We have problems downtown. Tom mentioned it, where we have trees that are, the roots have lifted up, and we have trippers there. And we can't, when people fall, we have to address it. When they get hurt, it's a liability issue.
We could, if this position, obviously at this point, it's not being funded, but if that position is not being funded, but we, as council, say any project, road construction project in the city of Muscatine will have adjacent sidewalks attached to it as part of the project. We don't need a project manager to take care of that.
We already
This
said that
position.
when we adopted the complete street standards.
I know we adopted that, but we didn't adopt the policy to have it sidewalks tied to any project, large project.
But Phil, you know as well as I do that if you have something like that, you better have a neighborhood meeting and visit with the people over there and explain how it's going to be paid for, who's going to maintain it in the future. And that is part of a policy that we do not have right now.
I understand that, and that policy, I think, could be established without a project manager necessarily being in position. But that's my opinion.
I just want to clarify real quick, because I really didn't like the statement that, well, we just don't want to do anything with it. That is completely off the mark. I don't think asking to wait 4 months to discuss this within the context of the entire budget is saying, well, I just don't want to do this. I want to consider it as part of the whole, not just on its own lonesome. So I think anytime you're talking about staff, I don't care how it's being funded. When we're talking about adding staff and salary, I just feel on principle that that is a budget discussion.
I feel the same way. I mean, is some offset here in the part-time and also historical in the, what we spent for consultants in the past. But the part-time offset is in here, but that's only about 20% of the cost of the position and the benefits, as far as a hard offset. And maybe through the budget process, we can find other offsets and then go forward with, there's clearly a need and a lot of work has been put into starting to pull this program together, so.
I would typically agree with you, and I'm all for looking at, at new programs as part of, an overall budget process. However, I mean, that's where we were last February, March. We, had the same discussion, but we were asked to bring it back during the calendar year so that we can move the program forward. So that's where we are. That's where we were at the in-depth session. We've brought it back forward, and now you're asking us to delay it again. I mean, and we can do that and have it part of that discussion, but that's where we were last year, as part of those budget discussions. So typically, I agree with you on principle that, new major programs don't need to be discussed during a budget session or budget, in context of an overall budget, but this is what we were asked to do.
It's not the concept or the
Sure.
need that I'm questioning, it's the funding.
Yeah.
Thank you, Randy. Tom, comments? Okay. Fran? Greg?
Just a reminder, the Public Safety Open House is October 13th. That's a joint open house, and as of now, we are looking for city council volunteers for the TASER demo.
I'm going to be out of town.
The taser.
Takes my name off that list of
Squirt gun
possibilities.
fight gonna be in part of that too, just before the taser?
Anything else, Greg?
No, thank you.
Okay, I have no comments. Any other business, council?
Move to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn. All right, meeting is adjourned.